Hello everyone, I'm Angry945, and welcome to a video where I rank the bosses of Shadow of the Colossi from worst to best. Now of course, with all the ranking videos like these, all my choices are 100% my opinion. You'll finally leave yours in the comments below. So with that brief warning out of the way, let's get right into it. Coming up at the bottom of the boss barrel, we have this oversized turtle of boredom. While the fight is pretty simple, the problem I have with Big Lug is how slow it is. What you're meant to do in this fight is to lure Phalanx out of its cave and knock him over using the guys down in the field. Now this would be an average fight on its own, right? It's a solid design, but the fight is held back tremendously by the speed of the big turtle. And did I mention what happens if you don't successfully manage to mount the beast? If you get on top and accidentally fall through its shell, you'll have to do this all over again. So there you have it. Phalanx finds himself coming in at last place due to slowness, which makes the fight boring, tedious, and absolutely nonsense. Number 15, Celestia. You know how I was talking about Phalanx being in last place because of how slow it was? Celestia finds itself here because it's actually too fast. When I meant speed up Phalanx, I didn't mean run at a speed where you can potentially stun lock me to death. Celestia's primary offense is to knock you out by ramming, which is the key to beating Celestia. What you need to do is climb one of the braziers on the side of the arena and get Celestia to knock it into one of the braziers. After that, you need to hop back down and pick that torch up. If you're not getting stun locked, climb back up, light the torch, and turn the odds against Celestia. Once it falls off its balcony, you want to mount it and take a rodeo ride. Another problem I have with Celestia is the small gap to get offense in and recover, unless you can get that perfect spot on its miniature back. But that only happens if you're really lucky. So the only reason that Celestia is higher than Phalanx is because Celestia is just frustrating at times. At least there's a quick way to end it, and at least it's not boring. Yippee! I love me some reskins! Okay, so some of you are probably wondering why I put Shinobi higher than Celestia, even though they have the same mechanics and practically the same base. Well, I argue that Shinobi is a superior version of Celestia, and that's because of the arena. Unlike Celestia's arena, where it's just a small space with torches on the side, Shinobi's arena is massive and full of environmental obstacles that do require Shinobi's help to get across. But once you get past the obstacle course, it's just Celestia all over again. Mount the beast, and hope you can get that perfect spot so you don't spend 3 minutes trying to get a window in. So Shinobi gets a slight edge over its earlier counterpart. I bet you're all thinking, why did I put this boss so low? Is it frustrating? No. Is it a reskin? Heavens no! At least I hope not. So what is it? At least I remembered the last 3 Colossi. When I was making this list, I forgot about Phaedra entirely until I played the game all over again. All I remember is just a big horse camel. So how else can we pile on this forgettable aggro statue? Well, not only is it easy to forget, but it's easy to beat too. Run into the tunnel polar opposite to Phaedra, and pop out the tunnel on the left or right to get to the horse faster. But you can't let it spot you or it'll take too long. And we got better things to do. So activate your inner Metal Gear Solid and sneak up on the boss once it crouches down looking for you. Once you hop on its butt, it will notice you and not take it very kindly and try to shake you off. Just clutch on those cheeks and you should be golden. Run up on the neck and stab it, then surprise, surprise! You reach the weak spot on its head. So yes, this Colossi is the most forgettable of the 16 and one of the easiest. But at least it's not frustrating or too boring, sitting comfortably at the bottom of the list. Even though we're at number 12, I'd say we're breaking into average quality for the bosses so far, and I would like to say that Valus fits this spot nicely. With it being the first boss of the game, Valus eases you into the mechanics on how to mount a Colossus and penetrate the skull to win. Now, just because Valus is so low on the list doesn't mean that I don't like it. It's a first solid boss, but our next few is just on another level. Like Valus, Quadratus is one of the first bosses of the game, and it's pretty simple. What elevates Quadratus above Valus is introducing that not all bosses are going to be easy to mount like Valus. Quadratus requires the bow to knock him down. From there you climb one of its 4 legs and make your way to stab 2 of its vital points, one on the back and one on its head. It's a neat bump upward in design, and that's just what edges Quadratus out for me. Pelagia is one of the few bosses you'll fight in the water. Also, was I the only one who thought you had to swim to all 5 circles in the arena to get the Goliath's attention? Apparently, I kept forgetting about swim mechanics in video games, so when I found out all I had to do was dive underwater and swim around Pelagia's back and climb up, even though the back was literally screaming at me to get on it, I was pretty disappointed in myself. And no, I'm not docking points on it just because I couldn't figure out the obtuse puzzle. Once you get on its head, you realize there's no vital point, so you smack the crystal popping out of its crown, and steer the beast into one of the circles with a higher point. Once you have the high ground, wait behind in cover for Pelagia to start shooting lightning at you. After the barrage, wait for Pelagia to reveal its true weak point, the stomach. Grab onto it and deal as much damage as you can. You won't be able to kill Pelagia in one cycle, so prepare to do it again. What really bothers me about the fight is similar to Pasaran. When you're on top of Pelagia and guiding it to higher platforms, Pelagia is a bit janky to control and it's pretty slow compared to some of the other Colossi. So I found this boss pretty entertaining and the design is pretty good nonetheless. Just hitting above average. As the other boss you'll find in the water, unlike Pelagia, Hydra doesn't have any kind of trick to it. You need to wait in the water for a bit until Hydra's eyes turn orange. That gives off a signal it's about to rise up and attempt to gobble you. Once you bait it, swim to the side where the rest of Hydra's body is going to poke out and wait to grab on. From there, you will be experiencing an underwater ride. To gradually get to Hydra's vital point, you'll need to walk up the Colossi when its body is out of the water and stab the weak points by the electric rods on its back. Once all 3 rods have been powered down, go deal as much damage as you can to the big eel. Overall, I found this Colossus rather relaxing, and it's a nice breeze for me to play. Koromori is a boss I feel mixed on, but I came to the conclusion of putting it at number 8. The battle against the Salamander is rather simple. You want to get a good angle to shoot the beast, then wait for it to scale the building while you make your way to the bottom. You can stay up on the upper levels if you feel more comfortable doing it that way, but I personally make my way to the bottom for what happens next. Once you're at the bottom, you're required to shoot 2 of Koromori's legs to send it tumbling down, leaving its stomach exposed. It's even possible to stab both of the vital points in one cycle. I got lucky and actually doing it myself, but now I can only get it down to just 1 hit point left. Koromori can be frustrating if you can't hit it on the correct angle though. Yet, even with these minor complaints, I still find Koromori to be one heck of a beast to go toe to toe with. This boss and the next 2 are probably the most difficult to sort out on this list, but eventually I picked Baba coming last out of the trio. We'll get to the other 2, but now let's talk about this majestic beardy boy. In fact, Baba in Latin literally means beard, a fitting name since that's what you need to beat Baba. Once you make it past the walls Baba breaks down, you must run into a hole at the very end of the arena and wait for Baba to crouch down and take a look. From there, you grab onto his magnificent beard and climb up. It's honestly like a bigger Valus, but with a beautiful beard. So I'll leave it as that. Baba is a fantastic above average boss, and we've got plenty more to come. Oh, Argos, where do I start with your grouchy face? Argos is the second to last boss in the game, and my first thoughts on this was, it looked similar to Valus. Whilst they have a similar structure, Argos is vastly more complex than what he looks. You start by needing some way to reach its head for more skull penetration! But it's not quite simple. When you get onto one of the stone platforms, you'll need to bait a foot stomp from Argos to elevate yourself to the next level. Then you'll need to bait Argos to swing his axe to bring down a platform and climb yourself up to the bridge. There, you need to get Argos mad enough to bring down the bridge. Now, he can walk close enough for you to jump on his head, and you can penetrate his skull as long as you like, until the vital point fades, and the last vital point is in his hands, the one that's holding the sword. Because every man's best friend is his right hand. You'll need to maneuver yourself to Argos' shoulder and stab the weak point to make Argos drop his sword. From here, you have 2 options. Option 1, save up as much stamina as you can and make your way down to the hand. Option 2, drop onto the floor and bait a fist slam, which I didn't know he could do until my 3rd playthrough of the game, thus allowing you to jump onto the wrist and cuts the painful work of mounting him in half or more. For me, this is the best boss for me mechanically compared to the other Colossi. Don't go anywhere, we still have 5 more to go. Dirge! I just love saying that name. Now onto Dirge itself. Dirge is one of the 2 bosses that can travel underground, and chases you like a land shark. Let me tell you now, this is the only boss that asks a lot out of you as a player. You need to hop on aggro to get away from Dirge while it's chasing you, while holding L2 to lock onto the boss, while pressing triangle to keep aggro moving, and your bow to hit Dirge in the eye. The boss's fun factor really depends on how well you can multitask. If you can't manage all this boss might be less enjoyable than Basaran for you. Yet, I find this boss absolutely fine, and I enjoy the thrill of the chase. It makes me feel like I'm in an action-packed film, and it truly made me feel accomplished being the giant worm. Alright, I hear ya. I know what you're gonna say. Why did I put Gaius at number 4? For those of you who played Shadow of the Colossus, I'd imagine Gaius being in your top 3. Well, I kept going back and forth on this, and I was happy with Gaius at number 4. After you fought Valus and Quadratus, you swim through a lake to reach this giant arena in the sky. To me, Gaius feels like the closest thing to a duel in Shadow of the Colossi, and a remarkable one at that. Gaius is probably the first boss in the game that actually fights back. Gaius slams what seems to be a sword into the ground. What you're meant to do is to get Gaius to swing his sword into the metal circle in the middle of the arena, to break the bracelet down his forearm. There you can have access to stab his head and stomach. Gaius is definitely one of the best early game fights I've ever experienced. It's always a pleasure to duel with this honorable knight. Phalanx is the largest Colossus in the game, full stop. But it's not just the sheer scope of the majestic creature, but rather the fight itself. Let's start with how it works. You'll need to hop on the aggro to chase the beast down and fire arrows at what seems to be its lungs. Shoot all three and it will float slowly to the ground, but brushes its fins along the ground as well. That's your cue to ride up next to them and grab on. From there you can either climb yourself up or wait for Phalanx to lift them back up. Now you'll need to stab 3 of its vital points to fully kill it. After you destroy one, Phalanx will shake a bit and then do a 360 turn. After that, it will cover its vital points and bury underground. Phalanx repeats this till it's fully defeated. It's something I could really knock on Phalanx, honestly. It's a fantastic boss with little to no flaws. And we're getting to that point where all these bosses so far are just A tier or S tier. And it's one of the very reasons, other than Gaius and our final 2, that I restart my journey over and over. And so, we come to Malice, the final boss of Shadow of the Colossus. When you reach Malice, you expect an epic final encounter, but Malice is the exact opposite. It's a rather sorrow and dramatic ending. Malice may not be as strong as the other bosses in terms of gameplay, but the story significance is just too much for me to ignore. At this point, you've downed 15 of Malice's brethren, and you've just witnessed your own horse fall to its death. If you stand on top of Malice's head long enough, you'll notice that from his point of view, it could see all those beacons of light into the sky, which marks each Colossus you've killed. Malice knows you've killed its fellow companions, and definitely knows it's next. At the very sight of you, Malice fires away with every bit of power it can muster up. Not out of vengeance, but just fear. You eventually reach a spot where Malice can't get to you. That's when I realized that this wasn't a battle, this was a downright execution. Malice doesn't wear that dress for show. It stuck to it to restrict Malice's movement and power. So Malice is chained up, has nowhere to go, and you're armed with a sword that could kill him and his brethren. When you climb Malice, he looks at you when you get onto his arm, like a curious child, wondering how you, a small human, could ever beat a Colossus, and 15 of them at that. When you finally reach Malice's head, your skull penetrates it for the very last time, putting Malice out of its misery. The whole fight made me think, was it all worth it? Was killing 15 innocent creatures worth it? Sacrificing my horse? Was any of it worth it? Malice makes it to number 2 because of the story significance surrounding it and ending this brilliant masterpiece. So congrats Malice for making it to number 2, but we have one final Colossus that exceeds to greater heights. To those who played Shadow of the Colossus, I'm pretty sure Avian cracking the top spot brings up to the surprise of absolutely nobody. Like Gaius, I don't think Avian is ever outside of anybody's top 3 favorite Colossi. There's a good reason for that. First being the obvious, it's a battle that takes place mid-air above a vast lake due to it being a bird. Second, the Colossi itself is just a sight to behold. Take everything I said about Gaius being an early game rush, with Phalanx's beauty and Malice's sorrow for killing the creature. As you catch Avian's attention, it'll dive at you, and that's when you can grab onto its wing and start making your way to its 3 vital points. One on each wing, and then one on the tail. So with a beautiful arena, majestic Colossi, the swelling intense music which is my favorite soundtrack in the game, exciting challenge, and a sad somewhat brutal ending to top it all off, makes Avian my favorite Colossi in the entire game. So there we go, that's my Shadow of the Colossus bosses ranked from worst to best video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you think there's a boss on this list that should be higher or lower, let me know in the comments below and share your opinions. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you all have a pleasant day everyone.